Hi, this is Steve Lentini, and I'm your host for the podcast, Different Thinking for Different Times, Season 3, Episode 19. Ernest Holmes once said, "There is a place within us where thought springs spontaneously from the infinite, and where the idea and the thing thought of merge into one. We should invite divine ideas to find entrance and expression through our consciousness." And so the writer of this month's daily guides in the Science of Mind magazine, Christian Sorensen, he goes on to write, "You are the observer of what is unfolding as your experience. When you are busy doing life, meditate. Meditation brings you back into a serene encounter with your journey. You befriend the moment when you open the window of your soul and invite the fresh breath of life to touch you. This is needed now more than ever," he goes on to say. "In the busyness of this world, breathe in, slow down, and become available to connect with the moment. What matters most are the moments in which we touch one another. Nothing will leave your classroom of life until it has taught you what it came to teach. You might as well dance until you get what it came to reveal." I love that. "It's not important to believe everything you think. Thoughts are just passing through your field of awareness. Every experience, no matter how challenging, comes with a blessing." For me, that would include every person as well. Your task is to realize it. So be where you are. Otherwise, you'll miss your whole life. That's so apropos for this podcast because I talk about the acorn brain and the small-minded thinker that resides in me, and I suspect in all of us, that you can see so many examples in life where the ego, the hubris that we have, is we think that God thinks like us. In fact, it's been written in all the books. If you study any of the spiritual writings, that somehow we think that God stopped talking to us 2,000 or 2,500 or 4,000 years ago, depending on what you believe. And see, God is the divine is in the moment. That's what I experienced upon leaving my body November 18th, 2002. For those of you that have listened to this podcast before, I croaked, flatlined, died. I make a joke of it because it really should be called "What's Next?" And I think everyone should die once. I don't wish that for you before this podcast ends, or this evening, or tomorrow. I wish everyone a long life that's listening and the experience of death. Fortunately, I got the chance to come back, and there was nothing except what Ernest Holmes talks about, what this writer talks about, that there was only the now. I call it the now on steroids. And we spend so much time in the past, even dragging it into the future. We make decisions based on past experiences. Maybe we judge people based on past experiences. But to bring the past into the present is a waste of time, except for learn the lesson and let it go. And that the dance will continue, as the writer talks about in today's guide. Let me just give you that quote again. "Nothing will leave your classroom of life until it has taught you what it came to teach. You might as well dance with it until you get what it came to reveal." And that also aligns with what Eckhart Tolle says: when you fight life, life fights you. And to surrender into the moment is to ask, What is this here to teach me? What can I do differently? What would I like the future to look like? And what does that person have to act like or do or think like to become that? Thinking with your limitless thinker. Our job is to become like the divine, that which created this miracle we live in. And that means to overcome all of our small minded thinking. And throughout the ages, there's been so much wasted energy because we believe our own thinking as humans. We don't spend any time rising above. And the thing is, we rail against religions that fight one another or countries that have had wars, and we still fight with our neighbor or the guy in the traffic in front of us or someone at the supermarket that's just a little too slow for your liking. We haven't resolved the war within ourselves. Believing our thinking is the challenge that we're to rise above and to think, what does the limitless thinker think like? If you get a moment, read The God of Spinoza. Baruch Spinoza lived in the late 1600s. He later changed his name, but if you Google his first name, but if you Google Baruch Spinoza, you'll get his story. When Einstein was asked if he believed in God, he used to say, "I believe in the God of Spinoza," which it encouraged people to study that, find out about it, discover about Spinoza. The God or the divine, the creator that Spinoza speaks of is exactly what I experienced when I was in What's Next. I was in intensive care, November 13th, 2002, and 5 days later, I flatlined. And in that next moment, which is what I think we should call it, what's next? The next moment, not death. In that next moment, I knew without my body, that part of me, the me, I had a knowing that I was one with everything and nothing. And that later on, I realized nothing from here was there. Then there was the life review, and only the good I had done, only the lives I had touched, flashed before me. And then I was asked the question, stay or go? And my consciousness surrendered. As you've heard the story before, and perhaps this is your first time, with thy will be done. And I was right back in the hospital bed, in intensive care. And in from there, another 55 days straight, so 60 days straight, and 40 out of the next 60 for a 100-day journey, including 6 months out of work. That was amazing. I'm grateful for the whole experience today. I was grateful getting in the ambulance. Something infinite overcame my thinking. Now, I had been studying the power of gratitude, but I have to say that mostly I spent time in the past and in the future up until November 13th. Getting in the ambulance changed everything. Now, a lot of it was because I was seriously health challenged. But I never thought about passing or dying. I was never afraid because I've always suspected, even as a young lad, that any mention of the vengeful, revengeful, angry, warring God was bullshit. Pardon my French. I've written the book recently, You May Be Full of Shit If. It's on Amazon. I also, for the woke crowd that needs the gentler version, I wrote, You May Be Full of Number 2. After all, we know better. Woke edition. The thing is, anyone thinking like that is small-minded thinking. Anyone who thinks they're better than someone else, they're missing the dance. Life is giving you feedback. The divine is never separate from us. Can you imagine in a universe if the life force created this just decided it would stop paying attention to us and to this existence, which would mean the whole universe would end. And it's going to at some point in time. The sun will end. This existence will end here. We just assume it'll go on for billions of years, and someone will die in the next minute. It'll end for all of us as we go through this journey. It's funny, when COVID first appeared, it was like death had disappeared for 300 years, and now people were afraid of dying. Get over that. You're going to die no matter what you do. Heart attack, cancer, accidents. God forbid someone shoots you, but it can happen here, especially if you live in New York City or in some of the other cities around the country, where people are just so stuck in small-minded thinking, not working to become what light created this miracle we live in. If you think floating on a garden planet around an exposed nuclear fusion plant with a moon that affects our tides is not a miracle, let alone looking at what the Hubble telescope shows us, all the galaxies, 200 billion suns in our galaxy alone. And yet we think maybe we're it, the hubris of it all. So work on your own to overcome your small-minded, limited thinker and see if it changes your life. Work to leave this life with nothing. Give it all away. Share as you go. Work to leave everything and everyone a little better than you find them. See if you let go of all the outward things that I used to define myself with too. Titles and books written and cars and houses. Nothing defines me today. Only the moment I want to be where the divine is. And you have to prove that to yourself. Don't take my word for it. I always say, if I ever tell you I found the way, run away. You can look at examples all through history for people that just become a belonger, a hanger-oner, following someone. Don't follow anyone. Make your life the experiment. Follow yourself. Look at life as a dance, as inviting you to look at it as a gift in every moment. Look for the feedback. The challenging moments and upsetting people are the biggest gifts because they're showing you you. They're inviting you to look in the mirror of life itself and inviting you to learn and grow and change yourself. Because after all, I'm the only one I can control, and you are the only one you can. Thanks. If you have any questions, email me, steve@stevelentini.com. Steve@stevelentini, L-E-N-T as in Tom, I-N-I.com. And I'll have you on the show. I'll interview you. Someone did reach out to me to interview me, to ask to be a guest for me to interview them, and they were selling financial services. And I said, no, that's not about selling. You want to come and challenge my ideas or share your own experience of the infinite, of what's next. There's many people that have had similar experiences to mine. Or if you want to challenge me on the thinking, just remember, I might ask you, does that sound like small-minded thinking? Work to become like whatever created this miracle you live in and see if it doesn't change your life. Thank you.